Steve Hartman this morning has the story of a young hero.
It was end of day for students at Carter Middle School in Warren, Michigan. But for those on bus 46 that April afternoon, it was the beginning of an unforgettable ordeal.
All of a sudden, the brakes get slammed.
We all were just terrified and shocked.
And that's when I looked up and saw him.
7th grader Dylan Reeves had grabbed the steering wheel. Soon after, police called the boy's father and stepmother, Steve and Iretta.
Are you the parent of Dylan Reeves? And I said, yes. And I go, what do you do? And he goes, no, this is a good phone call. Your son's a hero. He stopped the bus.
Stopped the bus?
What? What?
The officer went on to explain, and security footage shows how Dylan noticed the driver was having a medical emergency and immediately sprang from his seat.
I just knew what to do in that moment. The bus was swerving off the road.
So Dylan took the wheel, hit the brake, and gained control of the situation, saving driver and students.
Someone call 911.
A true hero, no doubt. But we still had a question. Why didn't anyone else notice what was happening? Well, turns out
had my AirPods in.
Virtually every kid
I was looking at my phone.
was on a device.
I was on my phone playing a little game.
We hear a lot about the consequences of too much screen time. But one thing I never considered until now is the loss of situational awareness. What's happening around them? And yet somehow, at least one kid on that bus instantly recognized what was happening. Any guesses as to why?
I know why, because my son does not have a cell phone.
And Steve says that's the lesson here.
What else are you going to do when you don't have a phone? You're going to look at people, you're going to notice stuff, you're going to look out the window. It's a very powerful lesson. Maybe change the world kind of lesson, I don't know.
At least a save the bus kind of lesson. And they say reason enough to hold off getting him a phone for another day.
How do you feel about that?
Whatever. My parents are old school,
But for good reason.
I guess.
Sometimes even heroes have it hard.
Steve Hartman has proof kindness can be its own reward.
If there was ever an election in this country for kindest American, the people of Galveston, Indiana, know who they'd nominate.
Because I think he's out there to help everybody.
That's what he's known for.
He just always has been.
It's the cloth he's cut from. Just a special guy, very special guy.
So who is this great humanitarian who lifts up the people of Galveston? The same man who puts them down. Meet 89-year-old gravedigger Alan McCloskey. Alan has been at this job since 1952 and refuses to retire because he says a new gravedigger might not square the corners as precisely, might not care as deeply for all those loving souls.
Yeah, people that we went to school with and worked with.
What was your hardest one?
My wife.
How'd you get through that?
I figured she'd want me to do it.
Alan and Barbara had 3 kids, but his definition of family extends well beyond blood, which may explain why a good chunk of the town gathered recently for what Alan thought was someone else's birthday party, but was really a celebration of him. At the party, he got an official Guinness World Record for longest career as a gravedigger, 70 years and counting. But more importantly, he was recognized for the thousands of odd jobs he's done for people. It's his side hustle, but with a twist.
We'd ask Alan for a bill, and he wouldn't give us a bill.
Never get a bill. I'll send you a bill.
He said, I'll just catch up with you later.
And then
later never came.
You never hear anything more about it.
It was the running joke at his party.
Anybody in here still waiting on him to send you a bill for work that he did? Yeah,
I did ask Alan about this.
They say they can't get a bill from you.
Oh. But all I got was a hearty laugh. Alan McCloskey, unassuming by profession and persona, but also a bold beacon for anyone in search of meaning.
Alan has figured out what life is about. It's not the money that makes him happy. I truly believe Alan has figured out where enough is at. He's found enough.
And strange thing about finding enough, you often end up with more than enough.
Steve Hartman tells us about the power of a dream.
No one has ever attended Harvard Law School for its sparkling glass doors or smudge-free countertops. In fact, support staff here say most students never even notice their efforts, with one remarkable exception.
He says, I just want to give you a hug and, say hi to you.
They say one day, this one student started thanking all of them.
Thank you for what you do.
And this is something very different.
I'm like, what is this kid's angle?
Food service worker Breon Merchant was skeptical.
Before that, but once I heard his background, that's when it just all made sense. I'm like, oh, you see us because you're one of us.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
That student is Rehan Staton. Before coming to Harvard Law, he worked in sanitation.
My job was to refurbish the dumpsters. I've heard people literally point to me and point to my coworker and say, like, don't be like them. I think it just reminds me to stay humble and just remember I wasn't always standing here.
Today, Rehan has not only maintained his humility, he has multiplied it.
Earlier this year, Rehan started a nonprofit called the Reciprocity Effect. Its mission? To guarantee that from now on and forever, the support staff here at Harvard Law would not only be seen, they would be celebrated.
This was the first support staff awards banquet, honoring in Oscar-like fashion the custodians and cafeteria workers and everyone else who makes this place possible.
The feeling of knowing that you are appreciated will always go a long way, especially for those who don't know that.
I think that's what makes what Rehan did so special, is because you didn't even realize how unseen you were until you were seen. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is kind of nice.
Rehan Staton.
In the coming days, a lot of graduates will stand high on a stage, a great vantage point, to finally see all the people who lifted them there.
You did it! Congratulations, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Steve Hartman has a tale from the sea that you might say is strictly for the birds, one in particular.
It can be a lonely job, pulling lobster traps way out here in the middle of the Gulf of Maine. But for 15 years, Captain John Mikowski had company, a faithful companion. In fact, he says, maybe a little too faithful.
She comes right up to the window and is looking at me this far away. I mean, it's just staring at me.
John's stalker girlfriend, who he named Red Eye, showed up one day in 2005 and basically never left. Until a few months ago, when Red Eye suffered a leg injury. John knew a seagull couldn't live long like that.
How hard was it for him?
Oh, very, very difficult.
John's wife, Debbie.
To watch John and to see how sad he was. I could tear up right now.
I don't know why I was so emotionally crushed, but there was a piece missing. I was beginning to wonder how much longer I felt like doing this.
So, in an attempt to save his passion for the sea, he tried to save that seagull. Actually caught her and brought her to the Center for Wildlife in Cape Nettic, Maine. The staff nursed Red Eye while John spoiled her with brown hake, her favorite kind of fish. And would you believe, just a few weeks later, Red Eye was good as new. Earlier this month, John released the bird back into the wild.
Perfect.
Of course, the wild was never really Red Eye's thing, which is why, still today, no matter where John is in this great ocean,
that's her.
Red Eye somehow finds him.
Atta girl.
For centuries, boat captains have believed seagulls carry the souls of lost sailors. And for this fourth-generation lobsterman, that is a comforting thought, that maybe Red Eye is an ancestor looking out for him. But John says it's more about something far less mystical. It's about the purpose that is found whenever two living creatures truly need each other.
Steve Hartman has the story of a nurse who's a lifesaver in every sense of the word.
At Community Hospital North in Indianapolis, newborn intensive care nurse Katrina Mullen has a reputation for going above and beyond. But as you'll soon see, the lengths she went to for these triplets and their 14-year-old mother is beyond compare.
Being that age and having all three babies premature and sick was going to be a hard road for her.
Katrina was once a teenage mother herself, and she knew that this young mom, Shariah Small, didn't have a stable home life. So, even after the babies were discharged, Katrina continued to visit them and shower them with gifts.
Pacifiers or bottles, 3 matching outfits for them.
What is driving you to do all this?
Just love. I mean, I loved her, I loved them, and I just wanted to see her be a successful parent.
She was just there. She was there emotionally, she was there physically, she was there mentally.
Which was all new for Shariah.
Yeah. She was really the only person there.
But Shariah still didn't have a proper home for the kids. So eventually, the Department of Child Services intervened. They began looking for a foster family, or more like multiple foster families, because finding one place for a teenage mother and her triplets would be nearly impossible. And that's when Shariah got a text message that simply said, "I can't wait for you to come home."
Never mind that Katrina already had 5 kids of her own.
What color is that?
She took on these other 4 without giving it a second thought.
Pop. It's been exhausting. It's been crazy and busy. But I've never once sat and said, I wish I hadn't done this.
But that seems illogical. You just listed a bunch of reasons why this is a terrible idea, and then you say I would absolutely do it again.
I would absolutely do it again.
In fact, just a few months ago, Katrina adopted Shariah, who just finished high school and now plans to go to college. All thanks to the nurse, who went above and beyond some more.
Steve Hartman this morning has the story of a daughter's quest for answers.
Before she was even born,
this is him?
That's my dad.
Jerry Eisenhower's dad, Army Private William Walters, got shipped off to World War II. All the family got back was his body and a letter that said he died somewhere in France.
That's it?
That's it. I just always wondered where he died, how he died. It was just a little part of a puzzle piece that was missing in my life.
She just didn't have any stories about her dad.
Jan Moore is Jerry's daughter.
Was the family resigned to the fact that you would never know?
Yeah, pretty much.
Until a few months ago. Jerry was at her home in Syracuse, Nebraska, when she got a message. It was from a small village in France, and it read, in part, "On the occasion of the 80th anniversary of the liberation of France, we pay tribute to Private William Walters."
We were looking for our soldier. We did not know that he was their soldier too.
In August 1944, American troops began liberating the village of Grace-sur-Loing. It was a joyous day, but there was one casualty. While crossing the river into town, Private Walters' boat capsized and he drowned at the age of 20. This past summer, a historian from Grace-sur-Loing tracked down Walters' family and invited them to France to honor their shared hero and the sacrifice he made here. As one eyewitness explained, they went looking for him and found him. They did a lot of things to try to revive him, but it didn't work.
He showed me where they laid him,
He was here.
and they covered him with flowers. It's just amazing, the care that they gave him.
Last week, she returned to her father's grave.
First time I've been here and had the answers.
Jerry says she now feels at peace.
It's a good feeling.
And it's all thanks to the grateful people of France, who even 80 years on, still see America through the prism of our better angels.
Steve Hartman introduces us to some school kids making sure the wheels on the bus aren't the only thing going round and round.
At Glen Lake Elementary in Hopkins, Minnesota, recess is a mixed blessing. On the one hand, there's so much to do. But on the other hand, not everyone can do it.
It just didn't seem fair that some kids were just left out.
And it's really sad to see other kids go through that.
They didn't look happy, and recess is about having fun.
Glen Lake has a lot of students with physical disabilities, but no wheelchair merry-go-round, swings, or any adaptive playground equipment whatsoever.
Come on in.
Which really bothered the kids in Betsy Julian's 5th grade class, to the point where one day they asked her, why can't we just buy the equipment ourselves?
I said, do you know how much that costs?
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money. $300,000.
$300,000 by her estimation. But the kids were undeterred. They started collecting spare change, then held a bake sale, printed flyers, and went door to door. Then they began cold calling businesses and even got restaurants to donate a portion of their profits. This went on for months, until last week, when they hit their goal.
We were all very happy on the inside and on the outside.
The smile on my face, I could say, was an ear-to-ear smile.
I was just really happy that we made it.
Reese Riley says they worked so hard. It was overwhelming to finally know a more inclusive playground would be coming.
You're a good kid.
Thanks.
And as for the kids who'll benefit, they seem to appreciate the effort almost more than the result.
First time I set foot on this playground, I'm probably gonna start crying. From seeing the effort that all the school has made.
Mrs. Julian couldn't agree more.
My future as an adult is bright, knowing that this generation of students, of change makers, see something that needs fixing, and they go for it, head first. The whole thing.
Head first and dive deep.
What's our next step?
After raising the $300,000, Mrs. Julian's class set a new goal, to the ceiling and beyond. They now hope to buy adaptive playground equipment for other schools in the district, turning loneliness and isolation into child's play.
There we go.
The Bible tells us to give and you shall receive. Steve Hartman has proof.
In one of Baltimore's poorest neighborhoods, we found one of its richest doctors. Rich, not in money. In fact, he's pretty much broke.
Alrighty.
But 66-year-old family doctor Michael Zollicoffer is flush with job satisfaction.
Just love people. I love to see a rash. If you say you got a rash, I'm gonna find you because I love a bump on your head. You see what I'm saying to you? I have
No,
got
not
to,
really.
I love a bump.
Has anybody taken your temperature?
No. Let's listen to my sweetie.
That infectious spirit is part of what sets him apart. Another is his prices. Can't pay? That's okay.
You make everything sound so easy.
It is easy. Forget that dollar bill. Now, I'm gonna see you no matter what. You walk in that door, you will be seen. You bring your grandma with you. I'm gonna see her too. Okay.
But here's what amazed us even more. In the nearly 40 years Dr. Z has been practicing,
that one's good.
He's never taken a real vacation.
I think you'll live.
Tells every patient they can call him 24/7, 365.
There you go.
I have his cell phone number.
Does everybody have his cell phone?
Yeah. He's always available.
This guy seems almost unbelievable.
He is unbelievable because you'll never meet another person like him ever.
A superhero, but hardly invincible. A few months ago, Dr. Z was diagnosed with cancer.
So I got 2 separate cancers. 1 renal, 1 rectal, but I don't give up.
And to add insult to injury, Dr. Z didn't have insurance. There was a whole series of snafus, but bottom line is he had no way to pay for his radiation treatments. Until his patients turned the tables on that ever-giving doctor.
I'm like, let's fight. What can we do?
Dr. Z will not give up on you, so we damn sure ain't giving up on him.
Whatever needs to be done to save Dr. Z, we're going to do it collectively.
So, collectively, they started a crowdfunding campaign. Nearly 1,000 people donated, raising more than $100,000. Today, his prognosis is good.
Right.
He got his insurance back and now plans to funnel any money left over back into the community.
Open that mouth up. You know what? I'm gonna say something may seem crazy as heck. I'm thankful that I got cancer because I am the happiest man on the planet, no matter what the outcome. What we have shown and why we sitting in this table right now to show America, this is what you're about. We about giving. I can't make it without them. And nor can they make it without me.
You need each other.
Let this nation hear this story. Let it hear this story.
And let it follow his prescription for a better outcome.
If you need something, you just buzz me, okay? All right, we'll see what these people say on Thursday. All right.
Steve Hartman now, and one man's dream come true.
At times, Armia Khalil felt like he was whittling his life away. And really, what was he thinking? Immigrating here from Egypt with nothing but $400 in his pocket and a suitcase of sculpting tools.
I was so naive. I didn't have any plan, just got one-way ticket in my dreams.
His dreams of becoming a professional sculptor. It didn't work out. So in 2012, Armia got a job as a security guard at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, where he could at least be in the presence of masters, never imagining that one day his work would be here too.
It's unbelievable. That was really a surreal moment for me.
A couple years ago, Armia struck up a conversation with a visitor. At least he thought he was a visitor. Anyway, Armia happened to mention to this guy that he was an artist himself, from Egypt.
When Armia mentioned that he was Egyptian, I asked him if I could see his work. At that point, I revealed my identity.
Achille Tomasino is a curator in the Met's Department of Modern and Contemporary Art. In 2018, he launched a search for the very best examples of art inspired by ancient Egypt.
You looked far and wide, you looked in other countries, spent 6 years.
Yep.
And then you found a piece in your security guard.
Yes, absolutely.
How do you explain that?
Divinely ordained encounter.
Really?
Yes. Several people have told me that they've come to the exhibition just to see your sculpture.
Armia's sculpture, carved out of a single piece of ash wood over the course of 5 months, is part of a major exhibit on display for the next week here at the Met.
Thank you so much.
As a result,
Can we get a photo with you?
Of course.
Armia is now a celebrity of sorts, the only security guard who guards his own work.
Thank you.
At least for now.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you.
So you might lose him as a security guard.
That is a risk.
But might gain a new master.
What's in a name? Well, let's ask Steve Hartman.
When folks in Swedberg, Missouri decided to name their elementary school building, everyone knew it had to be named after someone truly special.
You have your name on a building, that's huge.
It has to be someone that you just know would be right.
That makes you think of when you think of good.
Throughout history, there have been many national figures who fit that bill. Also, lots of famous Missourians who would have been great choices to celebrate and inspire. But in the end, they went with Claudine Wilson. Who is that, you ask? You wouldn't believe. Meet school custodian Claudine Wilson.
You can get her like a vacuum and she'll appreciate it because she really likes cleaning.
Yeah, she's like in the zone. She focuses.
And she's just really dedicated herself to this school.
So much so that over the past 30 years, she has taken on a busload of additional responsibilities.
Morning.
From transportation coordination,
How are you guys today?
to lunch duty, to landscaping. From facility operations to fill-in operator.
Sweetburg School, janitor speaking. Can I help you? And the next thing I know, I was leaving at 6 in the morning and getting home about 7:30 at night.
And what's your motivation for doing all that?
The kids at your heart.
That's what makes Claudine what she is.
School board president Chuck Boren.
These kids get sick. You think they go to the nurse to start with? They go to her. If they had a bad night, they go to her. I mean, and she's there for each and every one of them.
And all that is why the school board voted unanimously for the new name. And why today, there's really only one person in this whole community who remains unconvinced that Claudine deserves this honor. Claudine.
It touches your heart, but I don't think my name needs to be up on a building somewhere.
So we'll add humility to one of the reasons why you
guess.
should be up there.
In America, building names often inspire greatness.
You done a good job this morning.
And Sweetburg, Missouri is no exception. They just define greatness a little differently.
Would you want to be like her?
Yeah. That's what everybody should want to be, you know? That's what I would want to be.
To Steve Hartman with a story about the power of a promise.
You can't hear him over the crowd, and that may be a good thing, as Auburn University coach Bruce Pearl sneers and snarls his way through yet another basketball game.
You see him on the court being tough and stuff to all the players, but there's a whole totally different side of Bruce outside of basketball, which is a nice, loving, and caring person.
Auburn freshman Sam Cunningham's unique perspective comes from his greatest struggle. When he was 12, Sam was diagnosed with leukemia, and not long after, someone asked Coach Pearl to record a video for him.
You're gonna beat this, son. Cancer? Pick the wrong hombre. Pick the wrong dude to mess with, okay?
It was just real funny to me. Cancer picked the wrong hombre. It picked the wrong dude to mess with. That quote is what I kept with me when I got in my darkest days in the hospital and stuff.
Through all his complications,
You're gonna beat this, son.
through his relapse,
Pick the wrong hombre.
through the days that felt like they would be his last,
Pick the wrong dude to mess with,
Sam kept watching that video over and over.
okay?
Eventually, Coach Pearl delivered the same lines in person,
Pick the wrong dude.
and they became friends. And then one day, Bruce gave him another, even more inspiring message.
Tell you what, you're gonna get better. You're gonna come to Auburn, and you're gonna be my assistant. And he takes me at my word.
He believed it.
He did. And he is.
Today, he is the team manager, and so happy to be here. In fact, Sam says Coach Pearl's encouragement may have saved his life.
That truly healed me. I didn't think I would really get to this point from all the complications I had, so that was pretty amazing. I'm just a miracle to be here right now.
This month, college coaches across the country will be praying for a national championship. But here at Auburn, this coach will be asking for something far more consequential.
In my prayers, it's, God, don't let this thing relapse. Take me. Let Sam live.
Basketball seasons come and go, but great coaching lasts forever.
Steve Hartman has a story of forgiveness and turning desperation into hope.
The man in the green hoodie is Harrisburg, Pennsylvania City Councilman Ralph Rodriguez, trying to scare away a would-be burglar.
He was at this window?
Literally at the window. I saw him prying into here.
The guy was trying to break into the office of a nonprofit Rodriguez runs.
He just kind of took off.
Just kept running
Just
that way.
kept going, yep.
All the perpetrator left behind was this grainy image on a doorbell camera, so he could have gotten away with it If only he hadn't reached out to Rodriguez on social media, offering his name and his confession. I have to be willing to face the consequences, and that is what I'm ready to do.
For most crime victims, that would be case closed. But for Ralph Rodriguez, it was opportunity opened. He didn't want to add another young man to the prison rolls, especially one with no prior criminal record. So instead of pressing charges, he pressed for answers. So you decide to meet this guy?
Absolutely. And I actually took the time to hear his story, see the environment in which he lives in, and I get it. Poverty has a way of pushing you to do things that you would have never imagined you were even capable of doing.
22-year-old Rashawn Turner agreed to talk with us, on condition we not show his face.
I made a severe lapse in my judgment that night. My father was struggling with basic needs, and I was like, I can't sit here and just wait for what little we still have to be taken away. I have to do something.
And when Ralph Rodriguez heard that, he did something.
Making sure he's financially good and has just some clothes on his back.
So you started sending him money?
Absolutely.
The guy who just tried to rob you?
Absolutely, yep. Because what he doesn't need anymore is any more disappointments. I'm pretty sure people have told him things in his life and dropped the ball 10 out of 10 times. It's just not what I'm prepared to do. And that's what you're bringing. Look,
so Rodriguez turned the other cheek.
See how close we got to that?
Gave him part-time work painting the very place he just tried to burglarize, and set him up with job training.
See that?
I thought that there would be no one willing to help me, but you never know, you just have to ask. But I wasn't willing to ask.
What are you going to do with this chance?
Not waste it.
Let me look up this permit test.
Ralph Rodriguez, the best kind of crime fighter.
You just need a shot. And I'd be remiss if I didn't try my best to get you that shot, man.
Steve Hartman this morning explains how sometimes small acts of kindness can have huge consequences.
Inside Buckfeather, an outdoor sporting store in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, we met a great American success story.
Because it's about you.
At 42, owner Matt Busbus and his partners have built and sold several outdoor companies worth hundreds of millions. But Matt says he's never felt richer than he did the day he got the dollar.
I haven't had that much faith in humanity in a very long time.
He says it all began about a month ago.
It was early morning, and the fire alarm was going off inside his condo complex. So Matt shot out of bed and raced down the stairs, only to discover there was no fire. But he's awake now. So even though he was wearing mismatched clothes and all disheveled, Matt decided to go out for a cup of coffee.
And as he was about to enter the shop, he remembered he hadn't done his morning prayer. So, as the security camera shows, Matt stepped to the corner of the patio.
And I start to slowly open my eyes, and there's a kid coming at me about my height.
And with his fist clenched. So Matt prepared for battle.
And he goes, and reveals a dollar bill. And I go, what?
If you're homeless, here's a dollar.
This is 9-year-old Kelvin Ellis Jr.
I always wanted to help a homeless person, and I finally had the opportunity.
Kelvin says he had just gotten the dollar for good grades. It was the only money he had to his name. Matt was so touched. He invited Kelvin in for a snack, connected with the boy's father, who was next door, and promised to stay in touch.
What's up, dude?
As a reward for his kindness, Matt gave Kelvin a shopping spree. 40 seconds to pick out whatever he wanted in the store, including a new bike. Kelvin says it was great, but definitely not what he wanted to get for his dollar.
What were you hoping would come from that?
Joy.
Joy?
Because I helped someone. Give something away, you feel like you got a lot of things from it.
If you give, you're actually going to get more out of that. I couldn't grasp that as a kid. And if we can spread that around, everything changes.
A dollar. So well spent.
Cheers to friends forever.
Now Steve Hartman on lessons well learned.
Questions, comments, complaints, concerns?
Behind most every great teacher, there's a great teacher, a mentor, who long ago kindled a passion for education.
Yes, say it louder.
For science teacher Clay Morton, that guiding light was Walt Manger.
There was nothing he wouldn't do for his students. He's just one hell of a man, you know. There's my parents, and there's Walt.
Walt was Clay's geology professor in college. He says they stayed close for a while, but eventually lost touch.
Until a few years ago, when Clay learned his old prof had Alzheimer's. The thought of all that genius and gentleness going to waste was more than Clay could bear. So he set out to save as much of his brilliance as possible.
Walter!
The plan was to meet monthly.
How are you?
Here at the high school where Clay teaches in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
He doesn't remember where my room is. He doesn't remember what we talked about last time, but he knows that we do this.
What they do is look at Walt's old geology slides.
Look how flat it is.
In the beginning, Walt could explain each picture in great detail, and Clay would take notes.
I remember you talking about this in general geology. You explained why these people would build these structures way up in the mountains.
Yes.
But now, 3 years on,
Well, who took that picture?
he doesn't even remember taking most of them.
Well, these are really nice pictures. Whoever took these, yeah.
It's so hard to see him, but it's still the best week of the month.
when you get to spend time with him?
Because he's still Walt, you know, he still laughs, he's still funny, he's still willing to help you do anything. Yeah, I can't even imagine where I'd be without Walt.
Which is why Clay plans to continue these sessions for as long as Walt is able, and why he will always end each one with the same words of gratitude.
Almost everything I learned about teaching was from you.
Oh, well, thank you.
And although Walt will soon forget that compliment, Clay says that's actually fine by him.
Walter, it's nice to be able to tell it to him over and over again.
Ah.
Walt and Clay, rock stars of compassion.
You done good.
Steve Hartman this morning has a story about brotherhood.
At Clemson University in South Carolina,
Good morning, guys.
the Clemson Life program gives students with intellectual disabilities a chance to learn life skills for independent living.
So we are going to do grocery shopping today.
But as much as the program offers, Junior Charlie McGee wanted the whole college experience, from Alpha to Omega.
Why did you want to join a fraternity?
To have a great time and experiencing that brotherhood and more joy.
Unfortunately, rushing a fraternity is a process. There are interviews and mixers, and even then there's no guarantee of acceptance. In fact, no fraternity here had ever taken a kid from the Clemson Life program. Until now.
And when Charlie found out he got a bid, he was so excited he ran out of his left shoe and into the loving arms of his new fraternity brothers at Pi Kappa Alpha.
We saw him run towards us and we just lost it. And then after that, it was just raw emotion of all of us just taking him in.
That was one of the coolest moments at Clemson that we've had, was seeing that right there, so.
The guys told me at first, some of the members doubted a person with Down syndrome could fit in with the group, but they were willing to do Charlie the favor. Only to learn later that Charlie was the one doing them the favor.
The joy and light that we were missing in our chapter that we didn't know we were missing from the beginning is unreal.
He kind of broke all the preconceived notions that I thought of that a fraternity man should be like.
Others have come to the same conclusion. This year, a total of 6 fraternities and 5 sororities all welcome students from Clemson Life. And according to Charlie, it will be a game changer, because he says something magical happens whenever you're accepted this fully.
My disability, it doesn't really exist.
When you're with your fraternity brothers, you feel like your disability doesn't exist?
Yes, sir.
Now that's a rush.
You've heard the expression, it takes a village. As Steve Hartman discovered, sometimes it really does.
In Cabot, Arkansas, just as the sun begins to set over the local Walmart, store janitor Bill Majalewski begins walking to work for his overnight shift. He will trek 5 miles, 2 hours, in any weather.
Pouring rain, you're walking 2 hours each way.
Yeah, I don't call out. I want to work.
He's gonna go to work no matter what.
Snow?
Snow, I picked him up at 9 degrees the other morning. Let's go.
A couple years ago, Christy Conrad saw Bill out walking and offered him a ride. She got to know him, learned about his daunting daily commute, and how he's also legally blind. So she began driving him whenever she could. At least, that's how it started.
Why did you feel the need to do more?
I can't be always there, you know?
So what was your plan?
Mr. Bill's Village.
Mr. Bill's Village is a Facebook group Christy started a couple months ago. She was hoping to find just a few volunteers to keep an eye out for Bill when he's walking.
And within days, it exploded.
It caught on really quick.
And now it's like everyone's competing to give Mr. Bill a ride.
They'll click and see, is Mr. Bill out walking? Is he headed to town?
So people are just driving around the streets looking for him?
Pretty much. Just like where's Waldo, but where's Mr. Bill? Yeah. It's nice to see.
Today, the group has 1,500 members. In fact, here comes one now.
Hey, Mr. Bill. Do you need a ride to Walmart? Oh, certainly. All right. Come on, hop on in.
You always get picked up now.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And it's always somebody different.
It's never the same person from one day to the next.
That's amazing.
There's a lot of good people in this world, all over the place, you know.
And on that note, here's one more good person.
I'm pretty good.
Chris Puckett is a car dealer. He wanted to give Bill a vehicle.
I wasn't aware that you couldn't drive.
But since Bill can't drive,
I'm legally blind.
I got you.
He handed the key to Christy instead.
For real?
Putting the car in karma.
I don't even know what to say. Bill, go get in that front seat. Go over there.
Doing unto others. It's how they roll here in Mr. Bill's Village.
Thank you.
Bye, babe.
A home renovation job like no other is the story Steve Hartman has to tell.
Any electrician can flip a switch, but only John Kinney of Woburn, Massachusetts can make a customer light up. Like this.
Please don't pinch me because I don't want to wake up. Yeah.
That's one fine electrician.
Oh, 1,000 times over.
Last month, 72-year-old Gloria Scott called John to fix a ceiling light. But he soon discovered that broken light was the least of her problems. Too poor to make any house repairs, and too prideful to ask for help, Gloria's house was in total disrepair.
No lights, no running water. Yeah, I think I seen it on a Friday, and it stuck with me over the weekend. I said, I gotta go back there, you know.
So John returned and started working for free. He also started a Facebook page titled Nice Old Lady Needs Help, where he called on other tradespeople to join him.
On the Facebook page, you said, it's not like we're trying to rebuild her whole house.
Yeah, well now it looks like we are.
It sure does.
This whole porch is gonna get rebuilt. You can see up there, that's where like a lot of the raccoons and stuff were getting in.
They've been at it about a month now, putting in all new electrical, all new plumbing, new windows and walls and ceilings. Almost everything is getting repaired or replaced, from the backyard lawn to the front porch steps.
Wow.
It's what you're supposed to do.
It's what you're supposed to do. Seems the whole town of Woburn has bought into that mantra.
Come on.
Even those who can't build are now showing up with shovels and rakes, sending gift baskets, and plying the workers with food.
Look at these people. I mean, I can't even comprehend the gratitude that I have.
John is equally speechless.
Yep. It's just, there's no words for it, you know.
It's not going to end with this house, though, either, is it?
I don't want it to, and that's why we put a name to it, the Glorious Gladiators, and we want to keep going with this.
John would like to see chapters of Glorious Gladiators across the country, helping seniors in similar situations. Seniors like Gloria Scott, who had a broken light, but now shines brightly thanks to an electrician. hardwired for kindness.
Steve Hartman now on some real team players.
At the diner he owns outside Pittsburgh, David McComb is the decider. No sugarcoating necessary, no getting grilled for the decisions he makes. But in a marriage, as he now knows, you really should consult with your partner.
This is a big decision.
Well, when you marry somebody, you kind of know how they're going to react and know what they're going to do.
No, you have a conversation about it.
I mean, there was a reason why all this happened.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll settle the argument in a minute. But first, the backstory, which begins an ocean away. In 2021, a young boy from Senegal, West Africa, had dreams of playing basketball in America. The kid, named Ama Sow, posted videos, hoping some private high school in the States would sponsor him. And sure enough, one did.
You left your family in the hopes that you could play basketball?
Yeah, I would do anything for basketball.
Unfortunately, not long after Ama arrived, the school went out of business, leaving that 15-year-old boy homeless and penniless with nowhere to go. And that's when a former staff member here reached out to his old friend David.
I mean, I didn't think if there was anybody else that could take him in. I just said, okay.
Never mind that he already had a full house with 3 kids of his own, David agreed to take in one more without even meeting him.
We can thank Alma.
And he says he knew his wife would come around, which she did, almost immediately.
Alma's never seen a dishwasher. He's never taken a hot shower until he came to America. So it grounded everybody.
Ama now attends the local public high school where his basketball dreams are coming true. Next year, he'll play Division I college at the University of Tennessee Martin. But he says the bigger blessing is the second family he scored.
But a family going to be here forever. They're going to love you forever, going to help you forever.
Is that what you have here?
Yeah, that's what I have here, I think.
Nicole says he definitely does.
I love him. He's part of our family.
So he did it right.
This time.
Steve Hartman this morning tags along on a journey to the past.
Never mind the limousine, marching band, and red carpet. What amazes 75-year-old Marvin Jones the most is that he's back at his old high school, period.
Because when I left Brunswick High School in 1966, I said I would never return.
It was a different time. Schools across the South were desegregating, including Brunswick High in Lawrenceville, Virginia, where it fell to Marvin and these 14 other kids to take that first painful step.
On the bus, the students would bring KKK flyers. And when I would come down the hall, they'll close their nose and say, here comes a skunk, okay? I felt as if I had leprosy.
Even decades later, those memories haunted. So to heal, Marvin decided to put pen to paper, writing letters to the very students who tormented him.
What did you say in the letters?
I would tell what each person had done to me.
Marvin wrote about 90 such letters to former classmates, pouring out his pain whether people wanted to hear it or not, and most didn't. But one of the letters he mailed struck a different tone, and that letter was very well received.
That is he.
The recipient was Paul Fleshett. Marvin says Paul was one of the few students who never bullied him or said an unkind word.
Really touched me.
Marvin wrote,
there were many days that I wanted to strike up a conversation with you, and that I perceived you as one of the students I could have been friends.
Did you get a sense that he was trying to open a door?
Absolutely.
And when you saw that, what did you think?
I thought, well, I'm going to go through that door. Hey, buddy.
Marvin and Paul became close friends.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And that friendship eventually led to this.
We acknowledge their sacrifice. We celebrate their
a seat.
Earlier this month, Paul and other leaders in the community hosted a ceremony honoring the Brunswick 15. Those 15 brave children who were once treated like untouchables, now embraced with open arms.
It means a lot. It means that we have overcome a lot.
Marvin used to say he never had one good day at Brunswick High School, but almost 60 years later, looks like maybe he finally has.
You know that saying about walking a mile in another man's shoes? As Steve Hartman discovered, those words still resonate.
Nothing gets past Minneapolis bus driver Jane Arndt Verhelst. Tire pressure, seats clean, all systems go. But recently, Jane noticed a problem outside her bus. It was about a month ago. She was approaching this intersection when she saw a woman standing in the middle of the road.
And then when I opened up the door, that's when I really saw her. I saw her from head to toe, and I was just like, wow.
The woman, who appeared to be homeless, wasn't wearing any shoes.
I can't imagine what it's like walking around in bare feet on the hot pavement, and just nobody sees you. She's just kind of invisible, you know?
You don't have any shoes.
But not to Jane, who immediately took the shoes off her own feet.
Here's one. Here's another.
And gave them to her.
No, she's getting my shoes. Oh, okay.
I knew that you're not supposed to drive in your socks. It's a big no-no. But I couldn't help it.
Come on in, you guys.
Several riders witnessed that moment, but perhaps no one was more touched by it than this woman. Sarah Selden had been homeless before. She knows how meaningful a simple kindness can be.
It really affected me because it was like, oh my gosh, she sees this woman.
We're often told to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. But in certain moments, it's almost more important to let that someone stand in ours.
You've no doubt heard the old adage, one good turn deserves another. Steve Hartman has proof.
At the bottom of a hole in Chesterfield County, Virginia, utility worker Calvin Gaudette is fixing a leaky water main. But no gusher down here compares to the fountain of good deeds he delivers up there. Whether it's buying coffee for the next car,
take care of the people that behind me,
or groceries for a random shopper,
I'm gonna pay for this.
Calvin gives away about half his income to total strangers.
I'm gonna fill your truck up for you.
In return, he may get a thank you.
Why's that?
At best. But he remains undaunted.
You don't never know. You could do something for somebody or talk to someone and you can change the whole situation.
He says it happened once.
You can come around, thank you.
A few months ago, Calvin was in this Burger King drive-thru when he happened to look in his rearview mirror and saw a woman who just seemed sad. So Calvin did what Calvin does, bought her meal. Only this time, his random act of kindness would not soon be forgotten.
Somebody to do something that nice for you on that very moment when I thought nothing could make me happy again. It just touched my heart. This is Andy.
Denise Walters had just lost her husband of 41 years.
I just wish he was still here.
And says Calvin's kindness was exactly what she needed at exactly the right time. In fact, it had such a profound effect, she chased him down, told his boss, and got him recognized before the County Board of Supervisors.
He saw that I was upset and showed compassion to a complete stranger.
How you doing?
Since then, they have stayed in touch and grown their circle.
Nice to meet you. I'm Chris.
Nice to meet you, Chris.
Told us you may have lost your husband, but you gained a family.
He's just an amazing man. Just an amazing man.
He's also her new role model.
I want you to have this.
Denise is now doing the same thing.
He has shown me the way.
So you feel like you're on a mission now?
Oh, absolutely. If he can do this, I can do this.
And maybe
Gotta have a hug.
we can do this.
Go spread that joy somewhere, okay? Thank you.
Time for something completely different. Millions of Americans spent time in the yard these past few days, cooking out or just hanging out. But it's a safe guess few of us have had the sort of unforgettable run-in our Steve Hartman now shares with us.
You've no doubt seen many animal rescues, from barn fires to flash floods. Critters cut loose and airlifted. But until you've seen this story, you have not seen it all.
Yeah, it was surreal.
It's an unbelievable thing to see. You know, if we didn't catch that on camera, no one would have ever believed it.
Our drama unfolds at a backyard cookout in Burton, Michigan, where friends Tyler Whalen, John Pazinski, and Bill Messenger were just wrapping up their weekly cookout when a raccoon appeared.
The raccoon had just stolen an American single, much like this one, a harmless caper, until it became clear to everyone that this raccoon had bitten off way more than it could chew.
We're looking at it, we noticed it was choking.
Pointing at its neck like the universal sign for choking, it was like this.
Right after that's when
Billy
Bill
sprung
just
in.
sprung into action and started hitting its back.
And now
He is choking though.
you've seen it all.
A little bit lower, Bill.
I could not believe a wild raccoon was letting him hit it in the back that hard. I was like, oh my God.
Was leaning back into it like, help me out, brother.
I think it knew that he was trying to help it.
And help it, he did.
There you go. There it is. Let's go. You're laying it down there, one.
Watch again in slow motion and you can see, right there, out came the cheese.
Oh my God.
For the obligatory don't try this at home warning, we reached out to an animal behavior expert, Professor Suzanne McDonald from York University in Toronto. She is a wealth of information.
I've seen it all. I've been bitten by it all. I've been pooped on by it all.
Perhaps too much information, but to the point.
Don't do that. Don't be slapping raccoons or any other animal on the back. But it wasn't like he was giving them mouth to mouth or anything.
And she says a choking animal can't bite you. Regardless, the guys believe they had no choice.
Who would have thought?
We all thought it was gonna die.
Oh yeah, we were pumped for that little dude.
He was one of us at that point, so we...
Sounds like that raccoon wasn't the only one.
And I'm proud to call these guys my friends.
All choked up.
Good moment.